out for games. And if you have watched this channel for the couple of years that we have really covered this league, you guys know I'm a huge Camila Cardoso fan. I do. I believe this is the player that the Sky should be building around. In a perfect world, would I love to see point guard Caitlin Clark feeding the ball in to the absolute monster that is Camila Cardoso down in the paint? Yeah, I would love to.
The Chicago Sky organization faced considerable turmoil throughout the previous season, with multiple storylines drawing attention. Angel Reese, entering her second year, demonstrated notable growth in certain aspects of her performance. To be completely fair, she experienced a stretch of roughly 15 contests where her shooting efficiency showed genuine improvement. Her accuracy from the field increased substantially compared to her initial season, marking real progress in that department. However, durability concerns emerged once more. Missing games due to physical setbacks became a recurring theme, continuing a pattern that had observers raising questions.
I would love to see. That's feeding families. I want to see that one day, I hope. Right? Then you've got a true Stockton and Malone kind of situation going down. All right? With that much size. By the way, she's playing overseas right now. Holy hell. She's dominating the shit out of them over there. I think I saw 29-9 from yesterday for Cardoso. So, I didn't do.
For those who have followed the league closely over recent seasons, there's been strong support for Camila Cardoso as the foundation piece this franchise should prioritize. The ideal scenario many envision involves pairing someone like Caitlin Clark at the point guard position, delivering passes to Cardoso's imposing presence in the low post. Such a combination would create the kind of dynamic reminiscent of classic pick-and-roll partnerships from basketball history, given Cardoso's exceptional dimensions. Currently competing internationally, she's absolutely destroying competition overseas, recently posting numbers around 29 points and 9 rebounds in a single outing. Approximately 10 days prior, reports emerged that Reese intends to stay with Chicago despite a turbulent conclusion to 2025. The reference to it being rocky stems from a controversial interview, believed to be with the Chicago Sun-Times, where she criticized her teammates publicly.
So, I didn't do a video on this, but just about 10 days ago, this news broke. Angel Reese plans on remaining with the Chicago Sky after rocky end of 2025. You may be like, Rocky, question mark? Yeah, you don't remember? She threw all of her teammates under the bus and then ran the bus over them. In that interview that came out, I think it was the Chicago Sun-Times. And her teammates, nah, they wasn't having it.
The response from those teammates was swift and cold, while the organization handed down a suspension. The entire situation created significant friction within the locker room. Honestly, there hasn't been extensive coverage of that particular situation because interest surrounding Reese has gradually declined. The question becomes not just whether she wants to return, but whether Chicago actually wants her back. Some discussions around the league suggest that on a legitimate championship caliber roster, Reese would likely be the fifth offensive option rather than a primary or secondary focal point. The franchise desperately needs perimeter shooting, which adds another layer to their personnel decisions.
They wasn't having it. Gave her the cold shoulder. The Sky gave her a suspension. All of that. And I got to be honest, I didn't do a video on that because the interest in Angel has just slowly but surely started dropping. But, you know, I wonder, does she want to, she may not want to come back, or maybe she's decided I want to come back, but do the Chicago Sky actually want her back? That's...
Recent news announced Cardoso as the Mellon Player of the Year for the Chicago Sky. The recognition came with impressive credentials attached: 15 selections as Chicago Sky Player of the Game, 6 weekly honors, and 2 monthly awards throughout the campaign. One statistic stands out prominently: 40 games played. That number carries significant weight when making comparisons. Reese, by contrast, appeared in 30 games.
The Chicago Sky actually want her back. That's something that we haven't actually talked about. Because I know there's been, some talk, especially around all that drama, that if she was on an actual championship kind of roster, Angel would be like the fifth option on the team. Not the first or second option. And they need a shooter in Chicago real bad.
The front office's perspective on this disparity remains unclear, especially considering questions that surrounded the nature and legitimacy of various injury situations. It's possible the Chicago leadership had their own doubts about certain health concerns, though they would never publicly acknowledge such skepticism. The suggestion isn't that injuries were fabricated, but rather that the organization might have viewed things with some suspicion given the circumstances. The team performed poorly, and this marked the second consecutive season where availability became an issue, following a pattern from her rookie campaign and even extending to situations with the unrivaled league where participation stopped unexpectedly. With history repeating itself, concerns naturally arise about whether this becomes a third consecutive season with similar problems.
Her second option. And they need a shooter in Chicago real bad. So you see this right here. Camila Cardoso was named the Magellan Player of the Year. Chicago Sky. So she was named the Player of the Year right here for the Chicago Sky. Right? 15 times Chicago Sky Player of the Game. All right? 6 times Chicago Sky Player of the Week. 2-time Chicago Sky Player of the Month.
The announcement generated substantial reaction from Reese's supporter base, and they were far from pleased. Comments flooded in expressing disbelief and frustration. Some pointed out that observers are dismissing an extremely talented player on the roster. Critics claimed that statistics from the middle and end of the season were being ignored, with some Chicago residents professing their appreciation for Reese. The negative responses intensified.
Time Chicago Sky Player of the Month. I love this particular statistic. 40 games played. Woo! A lot can be taken from the 40 games played statistic, right? Because let's be honest, here's Angel. 30 games played. 30 games played. And we don't know where the mindset is of this front office.
Declarations of hatred toward the organization appeared, with promises that dissatisfaction would be vocalized at the arena. However, the reality is that attendance hasn't been consistently strong for Chicago, typically falling short of capacity by several hundred fans per game unless certain marquee opponents visit town. Additional comments laughed at the decision, questioning how Chicago could have achieved their 10 victories without Reese's contributions. The mockery directed at Cardoso's recognition struck some as inappropriate given her undeniable abilities. Questions arose about what type of fan base would react this way to honoring a legitimately excellent player.
That is of this front office. Because there was a lot of question marks around what's really going on with her injury, blah, blah, blah. It's very possible the Chicago Sky front office was questioning the injury themselves. Would they admit that? Of course, never. Well, Rhodes, are you saying that Angel wasn't hurt? No. I'm just saying maybe they gave it the fuzzy eyeball just a little bit in light of the fact that the team was bad.
Some responses called the organization unserious, pointing specifically to the 40 games played statistic as evidence of favoritism. The old saying about availability being the most valuable ability was invoked. Among the criticism, a few supporters did congratulate Cardoso genuinely. Others took a more hostile approach, suggesting she demand a trade from what they labeled a garbage organization. More laughing reactions at Cardoso appeared throughout the discourse.
Responding back to the WBPA in regards to their proposal to go on strike. As of right now, a strike has not been implemented, but that's not saying that there's not going to be one, because it definitely could be a strike coming in the near future. There has been several players like Angel Reese and other players that's kind of been in the headlines with other little stories. I really haven't been messing with it, man. Y'all know my main focus is going to be Caitlin Clark, how she's been doing. And it's just, to me, I just feel like this time of the year really ain't a whole lot going on with Caitlin. I think Jan Jensen spoke about it in an interview. She haven't even been.
One perspective noted that a team winning only 10 games having a player of the year discussion seems almost absurd. Yet, there's clear hypocrisy in the response, because if Reese had received this honor instead, those same critics would have celebrated it enthusiastically throughout social media. The support would have been overwhelming and effusive. A handful of reasonable voices did emerge amidst the chaos. When the statistics were presented side by side, the numbers told a clear story.
On with Caitlin, I think Jan Jensen spoke about it in an interview. She haven't even been to any Iowa Hawkeye basketball games. My thing is Caitlin Clark's probably falling off the grid a little bit. She's probably back in Indianapolis training. Too, if we want the holidays, but she's probably back in Indy training, getting ready for this 2026 season. Now, many people has been saying that Caitlin Clark could be the person that's behind the holdup with this whole strike thing. I can't yay or nay that, but one thing I can say is that Caitlin Clark has been participating with Team USA.
Cardoso averaged 13.6 points while shooting 52.8% from the field across those 40 appearances compared to Reese's 30 games with lower efficiency. One commenter raised an interesting question about why an organization would even want Reese back if they're supposedly building around Cardoso. The entire situation was labeled laughable by multiple observers. The counter-argument could be made that with proper strategic planning and competent management, both players could potentially be utilized effectively together. Whether the franchise possesses the capability to execute such a plan remains highly debatable.
Or nay that. But one thing I can say is that Caitlin Clark has been participating with Team USA basketball. We seen about a week and a half ago. She was in Durham, North Carolina at training camp with a host of other players. We reported on that. That was big time news. But yeah, man. So as of right now, we got to talk about this current story that is Caitlin Clark got a new selection from Panini that has come out. You got many big time sports analysts, sports people talking about this. And that is this drop right here. So it says 2025 Panini Caitlin Clark.
The organization clearly faces difficult decisions about roster construction, player roles, and who deserves recognition for their contributions during a disappointing season that yielded minimal victories. Caitlin Clark has once again captured massive online attention. During the current holiday period, she's maintained a relatively quiet profile, presumably spending time with relatives back home in Iowa. Recent days have seen minimal news emerging about the Women's Professional Basketball League or its collective bargaining discussions. The most recent development involved league ownership responding to the Players Association regarding their strike proposal.
And that is this drop right here. So it says 2025 Panini Caitlin Clark Chronicle keepsake pre-orders. So this is something that is coming out. So Dan Patrick actually spoke about this and kind of broke it all down what this Panini thing is. And he's pretty much saying that people should buy it and not open it. Now, I don't know if I'm going to get this or not, but I just thought this was pretty darn interesting. So this is what took place on Dan Patrick's show about an hour ago. Let's
I guess I could if you want me to. All right, I got.
While no work stoppage has been formally declared yet, the possibility remains very real for the coming weeks. Various athletes, including Angel Reese, have appeared in minor headline stories recently, though Clark remains the primary focal point for many observers. This period of the year typically features reduced activity surrounding her. Jan Jensen mentioned in a recent interview that Clark hasn't attended any Iowa Hawkeye basketball contests. The assumption is that Clark has somewhat disappeared from public view, likely back in Indianapolis conducting training sessions between holiday celebrations, preparing for the upcoming 2026 campaign.
About an hour ago. Let's
I guess I could if you want me to. All right, I got Christmas gifts here.
Great.
Courtesy of Panini. Bless you, Martha. So this is the special Caitlin Clark chronicled 100 card set, and it's the book Caitlin Clark. You got the Time magazine cover in here. You have available at Target, Target.com, and available soon at Dick's Sporting Goods and Panini. So everybody gets.
Speculation exists suggesting Clark could potentially be involved in the ongoing strike negotiations, though no confirmation exists either way. What's confirmed is her participation with Team USA basketball activities. Approximately 10 days ago, she attended training camp in Durham, North Carolina alongside numerous other athletes, which generated significant coverage. The current major story involves a fresh Panini product release featuring Clark. Numerous prominent sports commentators and analysts are discussing this new offering, the 2025 Panini Caitlin Clark Chronicle Keepsake, available for pre-orders.
.com and available soon at Dick's Sporting Goods and Panini. So everybody gets one.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
Here's my one. Nice. My daughter's going to love this.
This is awesome.
Everybody gets one.
Now,
Love it.
question. Should we not unwrap them?
I would not unwrap it if I were
Yeah.
You keeping these? You keeping it in the package?
condition.
I am.
You are.
Yeah.
You're a collector.
I am a collector.
You are.
Yeah.
Ultra rare.
This
color
is
blasting
so. This
shirt.
is what Panini does. They do things different, better than anybody.
Dan Patrick addressed this release on his program, essentially recommending that purchasers acquire the product but refrain from opening the packaging. During the broadcast approximately an hour prior, Patrick received complimentary Christmas gifts, courtesy of Panini, the special Caitlin Clark Chronicled 100-card collection packaged as a hardcover book. The set includes the Time magazine cover appearance and will be available through Target.com, with upcoming availability at Dick's Sporting Goods and Panini directly. The broadcast team distributed copies to everyone present. Discussion arose regarding whether unwrapping the product made sense.
Rare.
This
color
is
blasting
so. This
shirt.
is what Panini does. They do things different, better than anybody. Maybe if somebody wants to open theirs up, and then I could look and see what it looks like.
I think Todd should have to open his up because
I want to keep mine in mint condition.
I don't know.
I mean,
I love
You don't have
keep
to
it in
do
the
nothing,
plastic.
Todd.
you don't. I mean, that's Seton kind of.
I think it's meant to not be open, even though
No,
the
no,
cards
it's
are
meant to be
inside.
open.
Open and looked at.
No, it's meant to be open, looked at. But I'm going to keep mine wrapped.
I'm going to keep mine wrapped too, since I'm getting a pie in the face.
So this is
The packaging shows Clark in her Indiana Fever uniform during All-Star Game action, along with her Time magazine content. Reports indicate the product sold out at Target. Pricing sits at $82.85 for pre-orders. The complete set includes 100 cards, 50 focused on Clark's WNBA career, and 10 lifestyle cards, packaged as 4 cards per pack with 8 packs per unit, totaling 32 cards. Collectors can search for exclusive Green Halo and Green Laser Parallel versions.
But I'm going to keep mine wrapped.
I'm going to keep mine wrapped too, since I'm getting a pie in the face.
so this is it right here. So he goes on
I
to talk.
gonna
practice
keep it
safe card collecting.
That's smart. All right. Smart.
Okay.
Wait, how much time is left?
What are your thoughts on her form here at the? You might
Well,
as well critique it while we're doing it.
This Doug Gottlieb's the one that said that she needs to.
It's not
change
great.
it.
It's not great.
That is an awesome form right there.
That's why it's not great. It's awesome.
It's, yeah, yeah,
2 fingers down.
yeah.
Got to put it in.
When Doug said that her form